I don't need to hear about your Martinsville Wendy's food poisoning, Michael. That's okay. But no Tyreek Evans later on tonight, and no Domas Sabonis. He is still not putting significant weight on that ankle situation, which does not sound good. But the Pacers and the T-Wolves, Bankers Life Fieldhouse tonight. 6:30, your pregame coverage begins on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. It's going to be a fantastic night, beginning at 5 o'clock tomorrow over at Sun King Brewery. We talked to Frank Reich on the show a little bit about it yesterday, and he's going to be joining our next guest on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline from NBC. Peter King covers the NFL and has for a while, joins us now. That's going to be outstanding because I think you and Frank is engaging as heck. That should be a really good night tomorrow evening.
I'm grateful that Frank said he would do it. One of the things that has been fun every year about coming to Indianapolis is I think it's like 8 of the last 9 years, maybe 9 of the last 10 years. I've done a podcast. I've done a tweet up in Indianapolis.
Yep.
And the tweet up basically, I tell people on Twitter, hey, I'm going to be at such and such a spot. Come and see me. We'll have a beer. We'll have a conversation, all that. And so I've done it now for several years at Sun King, and we've raised money for some cause or other locally, and really tried to have a good time and do something good for the people of Indiana. And so I've done it with some celebrity types a couple of times, and this year I mentioned it to Frank Reich to see if in between his combine sessions on Friday evening he'd be able to do something with me. So he said sure, and his charity is Ascent 121, which aids the victims of human trafficking in central Indiana. And so I said that's a fantastic cause. And little did we know that the human trafficking cause would become a cause celeb over the last week or so. But anyway, we're going to hopefully raise a few $1,000s for Ascent 121 so that they could continue to do their good deeds. And the one thing I would say about Frank is that I've had conversations with him before, going back to, quite literally going back 28 years. I covered and got to know him pretty well after his miracle win over the Houston Oilers in the wild card playoff game for the Buffalo Bills back now 28 years ago. And he is an incredibly, as you know, he's a very, very engaging person. We're going to talk about a number of things tomorrow night. We're going to talk about what's going on in offenses in the NFL right now. How is it that 5'10" quarterbacks now are being talked about as the first pick in the draft? And so we will definitely get to your Colts questions, but we'll also get to some football and life questions too. And he'll attack it aggressively, and we'll have a lot of fun.
Peter King, NBC, joins us. He and Frank are going to be at Sun King beginning at 5. That is coming up tomorrow. So the invite, the welcome mat is out. And it is so interesting, Peter, how a situation where you hire one guy and in the 11th hour that guy turns it down, and then you get the perfect pick. You get the perfect guy. And I've said this before, Frank Reich, there's no more perfect guy as a head coach in the NFL, especially at the moment, than Frank was as the hire and as we have seen over the past year here in Indy.
Some things, Frank is a very spiritual guy. He and his wife, Linda, are extremely religious, and they're not going to throw it in your face, but they're going to tell you what they believe. And I have asked him this question, and he is one of these, hey, listen, everything happens for a reason guy. And he believes that, and look, one of the things I'm going to talk about tomorrow night is that, about 14 months ago, this time in December of 2017, Frank Reich was quite honestly a little bit depressed about the fact that the Philadelphia Eagles were going to be the 1 seed in the NFC, and nobody really wanted to talk to him about being a head coach in the NFL. And he felt almost like, if it's not going to be this year, when would it ever be? And so anyway, obviously things turned around and great things happened for him. But he admits totally that he just kind of put his faith in God. He put this, it wasn't in his hands anymore. He did what he could do, and he just believes that his faith in God really helped him get through a lot of things and helped him, just understand que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be. And I think he's obviously grateful that Josh McDaniels turned it down, and that Chris Ballard, who I think to this day was absolutely stunned that it happened with Josh McDaniels, but within 6 days they had a brand new head coach with somebody who wasn't even on their original list, not only their interview list, but their list of people who they were considering at all. So, I mean, hey, it's about time that something good happened for Frank Reich, and the something good that happened to him happened to Colts fans all over Indiana.
Yeah, it's always amazing. He was not even in Chris's top 8, and Chris was upfront and honest about that a year ago. I tell you what, Peter, I've had Tony Dungy, a couple of different times, once live in studio, and I told Frank this yesterday when he was sitting here with me. They, personality-wise, and the way that they coach, the way that you look at the sideline, and they look like they have all the answers, even if they don't at that moment, and everything's calm, cool, and collected. To me, he and Tony are very much alike. I compared him to Tony with that personality aspect in mind, and that's perfect. Perfect for the NFL, and especially perfect for this team.
Well, I think it was a really, really good match for Andrew Luck coming back. And, Andrew Luck, as you know well, and as everybody who listens to me right now knows very, very well, he's just a different person, okay? The last thing that he wants is for everybody to say, all right, Andrew, it's on your shoulders, and we love you, and let's have a parade with you being the Grand Marshal, and let's do it. I mean, Andrew Luck wants to be one of 53. That's what he wants. He wants to be nothing more, nothing less, nothing better, nothing worse. He understands that the quarterback position is different, but he also understands that he wants to be coached. He wants to be coached hard, and he also wants to have faith in the guy who is who's going to be his coach. And not to say that wasn't the case with Chuck Pagano or Bruce Arians at all, okay? But I do think that one of the things that has been a great fit with this coach and quarterback is that Frank Reich understands both from being the player and coaching the position and being the coordinator for the offense. He understands what is going to make a quarterback happy and what's going to give the quarterback trust in his head coach and in his coaching staff. And I think that match has just been perfect at this time, for Andrew Luck. The one other thing I would say that I think is really, really fortunate in this case, okay, and it's a story that I remember talking to Chris Ballard as soon as this happened, a year plus ago, when Frank Reich got the job. He said, he's the only guy who didn't ask about Andrew Luck's health, when we're going through the whole course of interviews. And I said, well, I mean, I don't mean to sound unintelligent here, but why in the world would that be a plus? if I was interviewing for the job, I certainly would want to know if the most important guy on the team is going to play again. And he said, well, the reason that I thought it was great and important is because he wanted this job regardless. And if Andrew Luck is playing, great. If Andrew Luck isn't playing, he still wanted this job, and he was going to win. And he said that is really something that impressed me. And again, I'm not sure that it's what would be a deciding factor in whether I give a guy a job or not. But I do think that there's something to be said for a guy who believes he's going to win, whether the quarterback on his team is Andrew Luck or Drew Stanton or pick a guy.
Yeah. It is. That aspect is amazing, no doubt. Peter King of NBC. Peter and Frank Reich are going to be together coming up tomorrow. We do begin at 5 o'clock, 5 until 7 over at Sun King Brewery, and he joins us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. A couple of things before I let you run here. Where do you think Antonio Brown, Peter, is going to end up when it's all said and done?
I think the place that could use him the most right now would be the New York Jets. And I also think Washington could use him, and certainly Carolina, Cam Newton would love to have him. I think the Jets are going to be most aggressive for him. I think the Steelers want to send him outside the division or outside the conference. And I think it's going to be interesting whether the Steelers take the best offer for him. Because I think the best offer for him has the best chance to come from either the Jets or Oakland. Who's going to make the best offer for him, or if they're going to be determined to send him to the NFC, so they only have to see him, say, once in the next 7 years.
What about Le'Veon Bell?
I also think the Jets are going to be in play there. I think Washington will be in play. And, to me, I've said this all along. I've said this throughout the offseason. I think the New York Jets, both in terms of having a lot of salary cap room and in terms of trying to get a running back who can take the pressure off a young quarterback in Sam Darnold, it'd be a great fit. Whether both Bell and Brown go to the Jets, they're going to have interest in both of them. But I also think that the market for running backs has changed drastically in the last couple of years, and I don't think that Le'Veon Bell is ever going to be able to make up the $14.1 million he lost last year by not playing football in Pittsburgh.
I'd agree with you on that as well. Yeah. And you hit it at the beginning of the conversation. Before I let you go, on the Patriots Robert Kraft front, there's still, obviously a lot of things to go down here. But what do you think is going to be the end game there?
Look, I'm surprised that Robert Kraft, news broke today that he's going to plead not guilty and he's going to fight this in court. I guess about a month from now in late March. That surprised me because I do not see anything good coming of this from Robert Kraft. I just don't. If there's video of him being in the building, I don't, prostitution is illegal. whatever happens from there, I just don't understand why you don't, look, it's every American's right to fight to claim they're innocent in a case. This one just surprises me a little bit. I believe that the league, unless he is found innocent, I believe the league is going to have to give him a multi-game suspension. This is an illegal act, and it's exacerbated by the fact that whether Kraft knew it or not, that there's some element of human trafficking involved here, according to the police in South Florida. So again, I would think that Roger Goodell is not going to be able to let Robert Kraft off with just a fine. A fine would mean nothing to him. It's, for a guy who is, I think, number 79 on the Forbes list of the richest men in America, it's silly to talk about a $500,000 fine.
Yeah, no doubt. Peter King with us, Peter King Podcast. Check it out, NBC Sports. And then tomorrow night, it is going to be a great time, Colts fans, and you get a great conversation. As you can tell, just by the 10 or so minutes I've been talking with Peter King, but you add Frank Reich to that, it is going to be great tomorrow, 5 until 7 at the Sun King Brewery here near downtown. I can't tell you how big of a pleasure it is always to have you on. I could sit here and listen to you all day. However, I understand you need to run, but tomorrow night is going to be fantastic, and have a blast with Frank and the fans that come out to watch. It'll be great.
We'll do it. And so if anybody wants to buy tickets, you'll be with Frank Reich for an hour. There's a free beer along with it. Tickets are $50. All proceeds donated to Ascent 121, which fights human trafficking in Indiana. And if you go to Eventbrite, EVENTBRITE, eventbrite.com, and you'll see the Frank Reich event. So please come out and join us. Say hello to me and Frank tomorrow over at Sun King, and he'll be with us for an hour at 5 o'clock. We'll have a great time.
And I'm looking right at it, too. Eventbrite also has an app where you can go as well on your smartphone right now if you want to check it out. You can get tickets just by hitting a button, which is fantastic. Hey, Peter, thanks as always. I appreciate that. Enjoy your time here in Central Indiana again, okay?
Will do. Thanks so much for having me on, and I'd like to really thank the people of Central Indiana for supporting this event tomorrow.
Absolutely. Peter King of NBC on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline.